Welcome to Trisha's videos around awakening the feminine consciousness. I hope you've maybe followed a few of my other videos which explain this is the journey I've been on around my Kundalini awakening and specifically focusing in on my dreams. I'm up to the point now where I've mentioned in my last video that there seemed to be a turn in my spiritual journey where I started on the descent into the underworld, the subconscious, dark night of the soul, and my feminine consciousness really began to become more profound during my awakening. So I'm going to jump right into my dreams today. There's two dreams, they are related, and for me it showed a turning point in where I was on my journey. So bear with me, I am going to have to read quite a lot of my notes because these are really quite deep and symbolic dreams. So the first one is I'm in a sweetie shop that's just got jars of sweets everywhere with a man who is a soulmate, and we're running around and we're eating all of these sweets, and I mean we're just having the most amazing time, and we can just have whatever we want. Now this is quite a significant dream because this is, to me, felt like was the triggering of what some might call the soulmate activation, or the twin flame activation, or even eros and psyche activation, where this masculine aspect that's been hidden inside of me is now going to be revealed to me. And at the time I didn't understand this dream, but as I've gone through the awakening and I've sat and reflected, I can see now that that was the beginning of this masculine, the wounded masculine part of myself was coming into my consciousness. So I'm just going to leave that one there because it was it is significant because of what it was revealing. And now I'm going to jump into the next dream, which was pretty much within a couple of days of that dream anyway. Now this is quite an extensive dream, and sorry, if you just bear with me one moment. In this dream there is a clear glass dome, and inside it is a labyrinth, or the double axe, the double bladed axe, and on that, inside of it, was a little inscription which I couldn't read, but it was in this glass dome. I then look up, and as I look up I see this black, it's not a sky but it's just black, and in the middle of it is a big white circle. This is then followed on by a field that is just full of crocus. And when I woke up and I sat and thought about that dream and pondered it for a while, I did realise that it was something very sacred. I couldn't understand why, but it had to do with the axe, and it had to do that it was in a glass dome. And so I'm just going to try and unpick some of this, which will be quite difficult because as I've done a little bit more research myself onto it, you can just get lost in lots of Greek mythology around the symbolism of this. But what has become quite clear to me is the relationship to the feminine goddess. So bear with me, I am going to have to reference my notes and kind of share that one with you. So some of this goes back to the Minoan religion and on the Isle of Crete, and this is around when the female goddess was worshipped, and it was only a female goddess that was worshipped. Now this is significant because the Minoan age is 3000 BC, before Christ. So before then, it suggests that on Crete, which is again has been suggested that it is the beginning of civilization, the female goddess was the only goddess that was worshipped, which is interesting in my dream that it took me that far back, but obviously in the dream it didn't show me that it was Crete, but it showed me the symbolisms of those. So in there, the crocus is being depicted by the Greek goddess harvesting saffron from the crocus. And this is to do with death and renewal. If you do a little bit of research on the internet, you may find a little symbolism or a gold coin, and it has the Greek goddess on it, and in there she does have the Labrys axe, and she is plucking crocuses and taking the saffron from the crocuses. And if you look that up, you will find more information about that. Just to go back a little bit, so we're going back to the Minoan age, where there's only the female is worshipped, which is interesting, and some call this the matriarch. I don't know, there's lots of academia that studies this kind of stuff, but obviously for me that's where my dream was taking me, and that's why I say to myself, this is a profound truth. So what's the significance of this? Well, we've got the axe, which is a symbolism of the female goddess, and if you look that up you'll be able to read more around the symbolism of the axe. We've got the glass dome, which at the time I didn't really understand what it meant, but more recently, i.e. within the last couple of weeks, I did have another dream where that glass dome did appear again, and this had to do with the moon. And I had a dream with the moon, and there was a glass dome around the moon, and I'd had a couple of dreams around feminine energy, and I've taken this as to be feminine consciousness, that dome was depicting feminine consciousness. Having had that twice, I feel quite confident in myself that that's what that means, and I was being shown or taken back to my own female and feminine consciousness. I also mentioned that there was this black sky or black ceiling with the white circle in it, and again I see that white circle now as being the moon. So the moon is the feminine consciousness, and you say, well, what is the moon, and why does that depict feminine consciousness? And so you have the sun and the moon, or the king and the queen, and the moon consciousness is perhaps a little less understood and probably would take a bit more research to understand that. But from my own personal perspective, what does that mean to me when I try and unpick it in myself is this whole idea around cycles of the moon having a significance, particularly on the feminine. So if you think about your periods, if you think about life cycles, if you think about life and death, so you've got dark and light, so dark is death, and light, in the dark things are germinating, in the light things are growing. But the moon is very powerful, and as a woman I have to confess I really would never have given this any significance a couple of years ago. But as I started to go through this descent, I did start to pay quite significant attention to the moon and the moon cycles and when there was a full moon, because I noticed, and I noticed again last night, because it's a full moon today, which is, I think it's the 4th or the 5th of May, I could feel an energy rising within my body. I can feel it, it starts buzzing around me. But it took me a long time to see the significance of that. And I did notice that as a full moon was beginning to come into its full moon, and I started to feel this energy, I did notice that a lot of clearing was going on. When I say clearing, is I was dealing with a lot of significant issues around the feminine and the masculine. They're a bit too complicated to go into in this dream, but I do pay a lot more attention to the moon and the energy that I am resonating at. Now, it might be that if you've not had a spiritual awakening, you may not feel that pull of the moon or the energy of the moon or its power over the feminine, but definitely since my spiritual awakening, the moon has had a much more significant impact on me, on my energy, and it's brought a whole host of things that I've had to deal with. And sometimes when it's a full moon, I can just end up crying for a couple of days, because it's just like, it's just phenomenal, this energy that is trying to clear things within me. I must admit, I do find that really difficult to explain, because it's such a phenomenon that perhaps most people have never understood. But what I am trying to do with these dreams is to share the mythology and some of the symbolism. If you want to go and research some of those aspects that I've shared with you, it would be worthwhile, because I can't give them any justice in this particular video. But I definitely would be suggesting you look up the Greek goddess, the saffron goddess, the crocus goddess, and look for some of those symbols, because I was absolutely astounded that my feminine self, or my feminine energy, actually went that far back and predated, obviously, Christ. So just to summarise that, to go back to the sweetie dream, this is around the awakening of my feminine consciousness and my masculine consciousness, and my wounded masculine consciousness. And I will come into that more when I share more dreams around my descent. So this to me was a really significant turning point, and very powerful for me as a woman, and for the feminine, and for a goddess. And when I say that, I don't mean Trisha. This is to do with Trisha. This is to do with feminine consciousness. So in a sense, it was not about me personally, but it's about that whole energy around the goddess, and the power that she had, and the fact that she was worshipped long before the patriarchy came along, and what happened to the goddess, and why has she been stuffed away into our subconsciousness. I'm not sure. I'm sure somewhere along the line somebody in history might work that one out. But anyway, she's there, and if you are feminine, she's there, and she does live within you. And somewhere, hopefully in the future, all women will be able to reconnect with that feminine goddess. As for me, that is still unfolding, so maybe I can share some of that with you as I go along. But for now, I'm going to close it off there, and look forward to sharing you more of my dreams of feminine consciousness. Bye for now.